Hey guys, and welcome back to day 3 of the 24 days till Christmas. I am your host, Frankie. 大家好，我是 Frankie, and let's get on into what today's video is going to be about. Today's video is going to be making doll shortalls. And today's tea is stress-free. Rose and mint. Now, if y'all were here yesterday, you heard my tea story. And on my pursuit and quest for hibiscus tea, this is one of the teas that I had picked up. So let us partake now. I'm going to do half glass again. And I'm going to let that steep. I'm kind of curious to see what color that's going to turn. Alright, hopefully that has steeped long enough. Ooh. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's like a nice, like rosy kind of color. I mean, I know it says rose in there, but sometimes, you know, you never know what things are going to turn. Like, it said mint, so it could have been a, I don't know, mint color or something. But yeah, it's a rosy, so let's take a sip of this. Because yesterday's tea was a caramel color, so, it's kind of like a light tea. Light in the fact of, like, maybe like white teas are light. I'm looking at the back of this. Alright, well, it's a light, subtle taste. It's not really strong. It's not really a strong floral taste to it. I would just say it's like a light tasting tea. Alright, into the video. Today we're going to be doing Simplicity's S8865J Shortalls. Now, I did do the original pattern, but I decided to make my own changes. Now, my changes are the polka dotted ones, and the original one is the Hello Kitty. Now, I shortened the shorts, and I made the pocket look a little bit more functional. Now, the original one had just stitching. Nothing wrong with that, it just has some stitching down there. And I also added a bib pocket to mine. Now, if you want to just do the original, by all means, you can still follow this tutorial and it'll still get you to the same place. Okay, so first we're going to start off with the back pattern. Only thing we're going to do with the back pattern is we're going to shorten the length. Right here is the fold line. Here is the bottom of the pattern, the hem. And just for your reference, I basically just made copies of the pattern, so I'm not actually cutting into the actual pattern. So if you measure from the fold line to the hem line, it's basically going to be 7/8. So I want to keep this cuff to be 7/8. So I'm going to go to the fold line, and I'm going to do, because of how it's short and everything like that, I'm going to do, I'm going to do 3/4 above the line, and I'm going to do 1/8 below the fold line. The fold line is no longer important, but that is just a guide for me so that I make sure that I do 7/8 from here to here. This will be your new fold line, and all you have to do is cut the excess off on your new bottom line. So yep, your new fold line here, and then your little bottom hem line here. So next thing, you're basically going to do whatever you do to the back, you got to do to the front. So we're going to do the same thing. It's good if you have a ruler that you can see through. I'm going to do the same thing. line it up, 7, 1/8, 1/8 there, 3/4 at the top. Yep. So then you're gonna cut that off. And if you want to double check and make sure, you can also walk the pattern. And if you say, Frankie, what does walk the pattern mean? Basically, you put the two patterns together and they match up. If it was an adult size, you basically would be walking the pattern around like that to make sure everything fit. But everything looks good. So now it comes to the mock pocket. When you do the mock pocket, you're gonna need 2 back pieces. Oh, wait a minute, or is this front? My bad. 2 front pieces. Front. So this is where you're going to be stitching down if you were going to be not making the mock pocket. But if you are making the mock pocket, what you're gonna do is you're gonna do 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So we're gonna take our ruler out, do 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And you're basically going to cut your seam allowance out. Now keep in mind, because this thing is really curvy, when it comes to cutting this out and sewing this up, you're going to have to clip this to make this turn, because if not, it's not going to want to turn. It doesn't want to do that, so you're going to have to make it do that. So after you've done that, then this is going to be the back half. To basically, you take your top on top and you're going to be sewing it down. So you have to make the other layer. So basically, this is going to do 1/4 of an inch here, and then I'm just going to free form here because it doesn't really matter too much. Down here, I want a little bit more than 1/4, but you don't have to go crazy with it. So I'm going to do 1/4, and then I'm going to just free draw it. And if it's helpful to you, you can also draw further down so you can include the notch if that makes you feel better, but you don't have to. And then you're going to cut that out. So now you have your 2 pieces of your front, and that is how you do it. So now that we have done the bottom half, now we're going to move to the bib pocket. I'm not going to go too far into it, but you're basically going to photocopy. You're going to fold it in half. Then you're going to start drawing on it how you want your pocket. So this is kind of the finished product. But I took this, drew how I wanted it to look on the bib, and then I cut it out. I didn't even put seam allowance on it, I just cut it out. Then when I opened it, I took the bib that I didn't cut up, fitted on to see how I liked how it looked. Then I took this, got some computer paper, you don't have to be fancy with it, just tape it on and create your seam allowance. And that is how you do your bib pocket. So on to sewing it up. So now we're gonna start with the straps. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna need your iron for this. Fold the strap in half, iron it down. Once that's been ironed down, you fold this in, iron that down, fold the other half in, iron that down, and then once that's done, fold it in and iron that down. So now we have pressed the straps. This is basically what it's going to look like pressed. Like so. After that is done, you've done your 2 straps. You're going to sew on both edges. You're going to sew on this edge and you're going to sew on this edge. So it's basically going to look like this when you're done. So now that you have your 2 straps, you're going to take your bib piece. You're going to make sure that it is the top part of the bib and the pieces are facing good side to good side. You're basically going to put your strap in. You can follow the little marks, but it's basically going to be your seam allowance. You don't want this to be cotton seam allowance, so you're just going to move it over. And then you're going to pin it, and then you're going to sew around the edge. So now that we have sewn all the way around, you're going to clip the edge and you're going to pull it inside out, and then you're going to press it. And if you need to get some edges a little bit more crisp, you can take an edge, I'm using a mechanical pencil, and kind of shove it so that it's a little bit more crisp. Then once you go ahead and press this down, you're going to sew around the edge here, and then we're going to attach our pocket. So this is the bib part with the straps. Now we're going to attach the pocket. If you're not going to attach the pocket, you can skip this part. I'm going to fold over the allotted seam allowance, use some fabric tack, try not to put too much on. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stitch 2 stitch lines at the top, one here, one there, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I have stitched the 2 lines here. So now we're basically going to glue, but don't forget to snip so that you can fold these. Don't snip past the seam allowance. Now that you've done that, you can place this on here to help hold everything in place. While you stitch this down, you can just put a little bit more glue. And now, oops. And now, you just go ahead and sew around the edge. Now this is how it looks with the stitching all the way around the pocket. So now we're going to do the pocket of the front. Oh, before you do this, you're going to need to clip. Here's your glue. I'm gonna press. And there you go. And it's ready to be stitched down. I'm gonna go ahead and take care of this side now. So now the pockets have been stitched and they're both secure on, and this is what it looks like in the back. Now you're gonna put good sides to good side, and you're going to sew along the allotted seam allowance here in the rise of the pants, and in the back you're gonna do the same thing. You make sure your good sides and good sides are together, but you're only going to stitch just a little bit of this, a little bit out this rise, this crotch here, and basically it's going to be where this little mark stops, because this is how Barbie's going to be getting into her overalls, so we can't sew up the whole back. I'm going to go ahead and stitch this together and then stitch the crotch of this together. So now I have taken care of the front. I pressed this so that it has a nice pressed seam, and then I also did so in the back. So now I'm going to join these at the inseam. But more importantly, there's the reason why I stopped it here, because this here is the inseam. This here is your front rise. If you have your hem, or wherever this is going to be, up here into your rise, you basically mess up the pattern. So you have to play around with what is going on in the inseam. So now I'm going to put these together, and then I'm going to stitch. And you're basically going to be putting good side to good side. You're going to match up your seams. And you also match up the notches, and then you pin as needed, and I'm basically going to go and sew this down. Okay, so we have sewn the inseam down, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the front and the back, match the notches, and I'm going to sew down the side here. Then I'm going to take the other back to the other front, and I'm going to sew along here. Alright, so now we're going to work on the hem cuff part. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip this to the inside. Make sure that the side seam is split to kind of help with bulk. If necessary, you can kind of trim down if you need to. Right now I want to keep it. Alright. Basically you're going to fold this up in here like this, and then we're going to take your fabric tack and we're going to glue the edges of it down. So I'm going to go ahead and glue it. So now we're going to make the cuff parts. So basically you're going to take this, flip it out, you can tack this also by hand to make sure that these stays in place. But now that is done, so now we're going to have to attach the bib and the waistband together. So, hey guys, I was actually putting on the waistband and I was wondering, why is the waistband too short? And I realized I didn't put the back darts in. So I just put them in, before you get to this step, put the darts in while it's still at the flat stage. You still can do it at this stage, but it's just easier before you start attaching everything. So now that we have the back darts in, going to attach the waistbands. Just match up your notches, and you're going to pin it. And I'm going to match up this notch all the way over here. I'm going to get into this in the front, pin there. And then I'm going to pin the allotted seam allowance all the way around here. So now the waistband has been attached on. So basically you're going to pull this up all the way around. You can also press this, and then this is where it's going to bend in the back. So you're just going to bend this over. And you're going to do that all the way around. And I'll be right back, because after you bend it all the way around, you're going to attach the bib on. Okay, so I bend the waistband back, and then I pinned where the bib is going to be. I'm basically going to stitch along here, and that's going to catch the bib here. So I'm going to sew that now. So now we have attached the waistband onto the bib, and the only thing left we have to do now is attach the back straps and put on the snap. So basically what you can do is you can try it on your doll, and you can adjust how tight you want it on the straps. You can look in the front and see if it looks good, if it's not looking too loose. And I'm going to kind of stick mine where it's in the middle here, where the dart is on both sides. And so now I'm going to attach that down. What you can do is pin it and then stitch over on both sides. So I'm going to go take care of that now. Alright, so now we have the finished product. We have secured the straps down. We've also sewn in the snaps, cut and trim any kind of loose edges. And now I'm going to put the model in it so she can model it around.